at the half there. Mark Adams, no longer the head coach at Texas Tech. Yesterday, of course, Jim Boeheim, you can kind of decide whether he retired or was basically retired by Syracuse. But then Mark Adams, we know this story because he was suspended, and then late yesterday, he's gone as the head coach, and Texas Tech was beaten last night. And so Texas Tech starts to look for who's going to replace him. Now, think about where Tech has been, and this is why you should enjoy what you have as long as you can. They were in the championship game, right?
Yeah.
Seconds away from winning the national title. Chris Beard could walk on water. He was phenomenal, up-and-coming coach, still is, despite what's happened to him. They were seconds away from winning the national title. They were really good the next year, and I guess that's the year COVID took over, but KU and Baylor were really, really good too, but they were still good. And then last year, they're a Sweet 16 team, and they were really good last year. And then all of a sudden, now they're looking for their second coach in 3 years. And, Kirby Hocutt can sell the fans, the attendance, facilities, the NIL, all of that above. But, man, they got to go look up and go, what happened here?
Yeah, I think Grant McCaslin's going to be a very interesting candidate for that job. North Texas, another Scott. Look, what's the big thing in the Big 12 right now? The two best coaches and most consistent are Bill Self and Scott Drew. Bill Self's guys have pretty much kind of stayed there, as where Scott's guys have stayed with him. But, like, as they go, Paul Mills, Grant McCaslin are out there both having good runs. I would, if I'm Texas Tech, I'm, maybe go into that tree because it worked for Kansas State. Plus, the other thing I would think that, if you want to go get a guy who knows Scott Drew culture in a place that loves basketball, our friend Doug McNamee told me this. He said as soon as Jerome Tang got hired at Kansas State, he said, they're going to be a problem for everybody in the Big 12 for a long time, because if you take Scott Drew's culture and then you put it in a place that is absolutely obsessed with basketball, it will go. And you've seen what happens with Joey McGuire and he's the same kind of enthusiastic person. It's worked out really well in a year so far, at least excitement-wise and looking like results-wise for Texas Tech. Then you put that on the basketball court with a McCaslin or a Paul Mills, and especially given the fact that, one coach left, everybody was mad because he went to a conference rival, and then the second guy got run out because he couldn't get along with players on the team. Yeah, I think you might need somebody who's got a little bit of happy in him.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. Like you said, it wouldn't be the first time they've tried to, mimic, somebody who's had a successful stint in Waco, remains to be seen with Joey. But, yeah, so far that's off to a tremendous start. So I think whether it be them or anybody else looking at some of those guys that you mentioned, that wouldn't come as a surprise at all, because that's a coaching tree that's really blossoming right now. At the same time, though, I'd imagine Kirby Hocutt does have other outlets that he could look towards. I'm not sure who that would be, but I think that they're going to be pretty thorough in their search, unless I'm incorrect and they've already had somebody in mind for a while, because this certainly was a very quick and abrupt exit. Like, we're almost like glossing over the fact that this head coach is out of there now and we're already onto the coaching search.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This was a week ago. He's the head coach, and he's the head coach probably for the foreseeable future. And all of a sudden, there's a story that comes out, and it's like, uh-oh. And 24 hours later, he's gone. I mean, this wasn't like Chris Beard had a longer stretch between accusation and actual firing. It was like a month, right? It was several weeks of Texas looking into it. This was like 24 hours, and Mark Adams is apparently coming forward and saying, like, I'm done. And I don't know how all that unfolded, but that's pretty major, because, as you said, in 2019, they're there in the Final Four. And the two main causes of that, non-player-wise, have had a very interesting last couple of months with Chris Beard's situation in Austin, and now he's probably going to be headed to Ole Miss, it looks like. And Mark Adams, abruptly no longer being the head coach. That coaching search will be very interesting, but what a turn of events and what an unexpected, situation for them to find themselves in. Good news is that you can go, as you saw with, Joey McGuire, you can go find the right guy and turn this thing around pretty immediately. And it's not like they're lacking in talent, but I saw where IMAX already entered the transfer portal. I'm sure there will be other fallout as well. But, yeah, just a crazy situation for it to go from 0 to 100 as quickly as it did. with Mark Adams now being out officially. And, yeah, very curious which direction they go, whether that's the Scott Drew coaching tree and, or possibly, another route. That's going to be a job that, because of the passion and the turnout and obviously the commitment behind the scenes, that, is going to be a highly coveted job, I would think.
If Texas makes the terrible...
No, absolutely. Rodney Terry.
Yeah, if Texas makes that terrible mistake, I would, if I were Texas Tech, I might wait out that decision and see, like, are they going to, go, oh, well, we really, like to go bigger. It would be a terrible decision for Texas to let Rodney Terry go, because he's already coached successfully in West Texas. And if they just went over and said, nope, here you go.
Well, that remains to be seen. The thing is, Texas is playing now, so they're not going to make any decision unless they were to announce that he's going to be coming back next year. So that could be another 3 weeks before UT's no longer playing, if in fact most likely they could be. And again, they could be done after the first week,
but that's
because
okay.
of the way the tournament's set up.
Yeah, that's okay though. I mean, what's your rush right now? The tournament's taking over the headlines for the next month. You can wait out a guy to lose, a second round game or wherever the candidate who ends up being the guy might end up. This isn't like this situation when they were hiring a football coach and Joey McGuire's leaving, to go get recruited, or to get the recruiting class started. They're not in that type of a situation here. So, yeah, I think that they can, obviously it was probably a tough trip back to Lubbock. We wondered, maybe is this, like, what do you expect from this basketball team when they play last night? Was it going to be win one, for all those involved to just, spin this thing on its head and turn a negative into a positive and win out and, become a great story of resiliency. And maybe they can eventually in some other way. But no, instead last night it was like, nope, you're one and done and you're out of here. And like it's back to Lubbock time. So that wasn't, in the cards. But they'll get somebody great. They don't have to be in a hurry right now, in my opinion. But I am fascinated to see what direction they go.
All right, so there's that.